Welcome volunteers to our training video on how to get your athlete into a push rim safely. We're going to focus on 3 main points: communication, safety, and the actual transfer. For communication with your athlete, it's best to be upfront about what they're able to do and where they need you. You can ask them directly, where do you want me to be? Which side do you like to transfer in? And before the actual transfer, make sure everyone involved in the transfer is counting to 3 and somebody is the lead person so that everyone knows what's going on.
Another key component of a transfer is safety. And there's a few things that you should keep in mind to keep yourself and the athlete safe while you're transferring. A big part of that is keeping yourself safe while you're transferring so that you're not hurting your back. When you're lifting anything heavy, whether it's equipment or an athlete, you want to make sure that you keep it as close to your body as possible, not far away. Also, you want to keep your back as straight as possible, so you want to avoid twisting or bending as much as possible. Also, when you are going down to pick something up from the ground, you want to use your knees and not your back to get to that item. So if I were to pick something up right now, I would want to go down like this and pick it up and bring it nice and close to my body, keeping my back as straight as possible. Another key aspect of safety is to make sure that the athlete is wearing their helmet before they start their transfer, because if they don't, it might get lost in the shuffle of a race or in training. A final key aspect of safety, just to make sure before you start the race, is that they have the flag attached to their equipment before they start. This will let other runners know and other people around that there is somebody potentially at a lower level and that there's something else there.
So this is a push rim. Some people call it a racing chair. This is the machine that's used by athletes who can't use their legs or have limited mobility in their legs to compete in racing events. So this is equivalent to your running part of a triathlon. You notice that the front is smaller than the back. The front wheel, the important thing to know about it is the front wheel is glued on. So if you are to receive a flat or something in a race where this front wheel is damaged, it's not going to be something that's fixable at that moment and time. As we travel back further on the push rim, the next thing that you'll see is the brake. This is the only brake on a push rim. There is no parking brake available. So when we talk about transfers, we're going to talk about how to navigate that piece. Steering is done with this bar by the athlete. It's hard to do when there's no pressure on the actual seat, but you're able to steer fairly well, not very well. There's very wide corners that you need to take on this machine. Traveling further back, we have the seat, which is where the athlete is going to sit. We will also put on a plate to put my feet in later. Some athletes use the plate for feet, some do not. So it depends on what your athlete wants to do and how they are comfortable in the machine. The last couple pieces are our wheels that we're going to be pushing with. This is the actual piece that your athlete is going to be pushing on. Most athletes do not grip it, they push it with their palm, hence the name push rim or racing chair. The other thing that you might want to do is check with the athlete. These bolts here are used for an Allen wrench. You might want to tighten them just in case they've had their wheels spinning freely in transport, just to make sure that everything's tight and you don't wind up going somewhere and losing a wheel along the way.
All right, so to start the transfer, what do you need from us?
Okay, so first what we're going to do is we're going to need to open this up so that we can actually get in to the push rim. So what that strap does normally is it just holds the person who's in the push rim in place so they're reminded to lean forward so that the whole machine doesn't tip over. Now, second, I'm going to come over to this side of the push rim because when we transfer in, I'm going to need to lift my leg to get it into this hole. But the way that my body works is this leg I'm able to lift way higher than this leg, so it's going to be easier if I stand on this side.
All right, before we start the transfer, I'm glad to see that your helmet is on. Have you tightened your wheels?
Yes, I tightened the back wheels so they're definitely secure, they're not going to fall off.
Perfect, and have you pumped up the tires?
Yes, I pumped them all up to 100 psi.
All right, awesome. What do you need from us next?
So the first thing that I'm gonna need is, I'm glad that there's 3 people here because this is a 3-person transfer. With push rooms, they're very delicate, they can flip very easily, so it's important to always have somebody that is manning the front end.
I can do that.
Okay, so you're gonna need to make sure that you hold the front end, and no matter what happens, make sure you're holding it. They will take care of me. Okay?
Got it.
So secondly, I need somebody who's going to stand over on this side to help me on this side. And I'll get rid of my paint, and you can just stay right there, that is fine. So, the next thing we're gonna do is you're gonna come stand right here and make your arm a really firm 90-degree angle. Excellent, like you were having a bird perch on it. So come a little bit more up here. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to lift this leg up, and then you are going to take it and put it through this hole. Okay? So, leg up, and you can take it and grab it as hard as you need to because there might be some tone that influences it. Excellent, so I'm gonna maneuver over here and get adjusted. And then I'm gonna hold myself, but you can make sure I don't like go anywhere. And then you are going to take this leg and put it in this hole here.
Sounds good.
Okay. Excellent. So now that's awesome. So I'm going to make sure that I always stay leaning forward in addition to you holding the front of it because we don't want anything slipping over or anything like that. The next step is to get my feet in. So when we put our feet in, we always put them in this way. We don't want to push them back like this. We want to put them in through the Velcro facing forward. So you can take them and put them on the plate. Okay, excellent job getting them even. So the next thing we're going to do is take them and push them as far back as we can. Okay. And for the final thing, which is kind of unique to me because my muscle tone makes it so that if I don't do this step, my legs will push themselves forward through the race and then it'll make it hard to stay in aerodynamic position. We're going to take this and we're going to thread it through this black strap and attach it to the red strap on the back so that my legs can't move forward. And that step is kind of tricky. So I'm going to see. Yep, so I can't push my feet forward, so that's excellent. The last step is we're going to take this Velcro and we're going to thread it through the 2 red loops so that we're able to secure me facing forward. And the Velcro on this side is double-sided, so that side wants to go down first and then the other side. Okay. Excellent. So that's good. I'm in, I'm making sure that I'm forward, so you can release now.
All right.
And that is it. So this is an alternate way to get into a push rim for an athlete who is not able to stand and hold themselves upright. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to have my volunteer angle the push rim up so that I'm able to slide my feet into it. My volunteers are going to go ahead and take my feet and put them into the push rim through the slots. So now I'm going to just wiggle up a little bit and then my volunteers are going to be able to take my feet and put them in a little bit better. Now they're going to make sure that the push rim is held securely so that I'm able to hold myself and wiggle into it. All right, now we can lower it to the ground.
So before we start the race, is there anything else that we need to know?
Yes, there's 2 things that you would need to know if you're guiding somebody in a push rim. So the first thing is these machines take very wide turns. You can't turn these very easily, and you're going to want to be able to slow down before the turn. So a guide has kind of 2 jobs. Make sure that The people who are running know that somebody is coming and they're making a wide turn. So I have my guides say, wide right turn, wide left turn. Secondly, if you notice that there is a downhill coming up, you want to let your push-rim athlete know that there's a downhill coming up so they can start to brake, so that they're not going so fast downhill that they can't make adjustments if something happens. Secondly, when you're guiding somebody on a push-rim, they do run at different paces. So you'll be told what pace your athlete is running at. But that's not a consistent pace. It's not like somebody who has legs and they're running at hills don't bother them. For people who are on push rims, going uphill can be you walking next to them uphill, because it takes a lot of effort for them to be able to get up the hill. However, on a downhill, they're going to go much faster than you're probably able to keep up. And it's okay to let your athlete go down the hill ahead of you and catch up to them on either a flat or the next uphill.
Awesome. And then once we finish the race, is there anything that you would need me to do?
So for me, since my feet have been pushed underneath me for a couple of hours, at this point, I'm gonna want to just have them unstrapped, sit for 3-5 minutes, let the blood get back in there, and then start to stand. So it might take a little bit of time to get out.
All right, thanks. Thanks for joining our training video about how to safely transfer into a push rim. We hope you are more confident going into your next training run or competition.